Boy, oh boy, oh boy. Mm-mm-mm. We gotta have a talk. Folks, we got a whopper in front of us today. Proverbs chapter 11, verse 1. Hit me like a wrecking ball. Whoa. Oh, welcome to the show. Welcome to Man of Minutes. I want to thank you for joining me today. And who knows? All of you who were offended and said, I can't believe he sang that song, shouldn't even know what song I'm singing. So shame on you for being in loop and in context of the secular reference. Yeah. How you like them apples? Speaking of being fair. Okay, trying to throw in a little bit of levity there today because our topic is going to be a fun one. Proverbs 11:1. Let's start it out with a fun little video, and then we're going to dive into some things. Remember, I'm your buddy, Brother Daniel. So just keep that in mind throughout today. Service company, this is Daniel.
Yes, we've had an emergency. Come quick and I'll pay anything.
Now's your chance, boy.
Now's your chance to do good.
Stick it to 'em.
Help them, Daniel.
They're desperate.
Do unto others.
We'd be happy to help you out today for a standard charge.
A Man a Minute with Daniel Earl.
The Lord detests dishonest scales, but accurate weights find favor with him. Proverbs 11:1. The Bible is quite literally all up in our business today as King Solomon reminds us of the balancing of fair scales. Probably gave birth to phrases like a fair day's work for a fair day's pay. After all, sometimes doing the right thing isn't always as easy as a snap, but it is worth shooting for.
All right. How you like them apples, huh? Yeah, we are into some deep water today. That was kind of fun, by the way. I like going back and forth with the black and white theme there. That really was a fun one to shoot. Yeah, I'm still being evasive on this topic. Look at me, I'm all a tremble because we're gonna have to talk about that one most sensitive of areas, which is just money. And it is a tough thing to talk about, isn't it? People can take it so personally, especially in these days. It just seems like that, money is the one subject that we wish the Bible didn't talk about with the one subject, right? The Bible talks about everything. I mean, we've gone so far. I mean, the Bible even tells you, in Proverbs here, it's saying, don't sleep in too late in the morning. And you're like, man, that's just flat out meddling, Yeah, you got to be careful who you have intimate relationships with and why. Yeah, that's in the Bible. And talking about money and how we spend our money and how we spend our time, it's just all kinds of meddlesome. Well, here's the thing. Would you just rather have no advice whatsoever and just be out there adrift? Well, no. The Lord cares so much more about us than that he shares his wisdom with us. So let's take another look at this verse today before we get into it too deeply. It says in Proverbs 11:1, the Lord detests dishonest scales, but accurate weights find favor with him. So what in the world does that mean? Does it mean you shouldn't be fat? I know that scale's been lying. Not sure which way it's lying, but I know it's lying. No, that's not what it's talking about whatsoever. So going back to the day when things were actually weighed in a public market, if you think about like an open air market, right? And you go down there and, let's say a guy's going to sell you a certain amount of butter, for instance, right? And you want a cup of butter. But his cup is only maybe 9/16 instead of a full 16, something of that nature. And you've got to trust that guy, or you're going to buy so much grain by weight. And I know we probably all remember the Norman Rockwell picture, right? Where the butcher's looking over and he's got his finger on this side of the scale and the lady, she's got her fingers on the other side of the scale, right? So think that way. And then let's think about the way in which we engage business and deal with business related issues. Now, here's the thing. Fortunately, in my lifetime, I started out as an employee. I've been a consumer, and I've also been an employer, and I've been a service provider. So I've kind of seen this thing from all corners. And now the reason, I guess, why it's a little bit discomforting or uncomfortable for me to talk about this is because as a business owner, you don't want to seem like, like you're complaining or anything like that. I mean, these are just facts we're going to discuss. But just saying I've been on both sides of that and still am, because here's the thing. Even if you're a business owner, you're still a consumer, okay? For some reason, there's a perception that if you own a business, that everything is free to you for some reason, and you're experiencing these enormous profit margins, and you just go in and charge whatever you want to, and get people to pay as much as you can and soak up all the profits, right? Well, then on the consumer side of things, I mean, what's the other side of that? That all consumers are just out to pay as little as possible, and I know, listen, on both sides of that thing, it exists. Then you have this other group of people out there, and this other group of people out there who may seriously want to think about fairness, right? Because here's the thing. I want you to think with me. If you actually have a good business that you enjoy visiting and being a part of, do you want them to stay in business? Do you want them to be there the next time you need them? And if the answer to that is yeah, I really, if I got a good electrician, I want him to keep being an electrician, or a good roofer or a good plumber, or that favorite restaurant that you like to go to, and they need to stay in business, right? And on the other side of that thing, right, a good business owner wants to be a service to the community and wants to be able to continue to provide those services to the customers. But not only to the customers, you have to understand that business owners also have a right, or have an obligation to their employees and those people they work with on a day-to-day basis, whose paychecks they're signing, and whose wife and husbands and kids they know. And they feel responsible to providing a good work environment for their employees and providing a good customer experience. So a lot comes into that. The question is, can we remain fair? And on the consumer side, are we always looking to beat the business, that the company that we're doing business with, are we always looking to beat them out of a dollar? And I can remember so many occasions, and listen, don't think that if this situation applies that I'm directing anything at anybody, okay? It's just the way it is. It's this way for everybody, okay? So, some people, they say, well, I'm going to call so-and-so, they're my friend, and they got this business, and maybe they'll cut me a deal or do it for free because they're my friend. That's an interesting concept, and I understand why you would think that way. I got to admit, if I got a buddy who's in business, he's doing something, I often think to myself, I wonder if he'd cut me a deal, because before I came to a better understanding of the way this deal works, that's the way I thought a lot. I don't think that way anymore, because a friend of mine once said, I'm surprised at the number of the people who come into my business and call themselves my friend and then try to run me out of business. And I thought, man, that guy is so stingy. I mean, how could he possibly think that way? And then I thought to myself, wait a minute. Maybe he's right. Maybe those people who are coming into his business and coming into his establishment, and honestly, expecting a huge break, expecting a special favor or something like that. I mean, don't they care enough about the guy whom they call their friend to try and help keep him in business? I think there's an obligation on that side, on the consumer side, to do business with good companies and to promote good companies to stay in business. Now, having said all of that, and I realize this is a long one, I'm going to go just a little bit further and say this. Please understand that if you are dealing with an equitable business, a business who wants to do what's right in the community, they are probably experiencing more overhead and expenses than the average company. Let me tell you what I mean by that. A business who is thinking about fairness to their customers and fairness to their community is also thinking about paying taxes appropriately, paying employees appropriately, making sure that they cover all their liabilities appropriately. And in areas where other people may be tempted to cut corners, and I have had this experience where people call up and they say, hey, we'd like to hire a service provider. Great. We understand you're a Christian company. Yes. Can you give us a price? Sure. And then they say, well, my goodness, the other company down the road is cheaper. I thought you were Christians, and here you're trying to rip us off. And I'm like, man, okay, well, if you want to go with the company down the road, I mean, that's fine. We're in a free market economy. You can do that. But please understand and consider that as a Christian owned business, the bar of integrity, it shouldn't be. I mean, everybody should be operating on the same excellent bar of integrity. But as Christians, I think that a lot of times Christian business owners hold themselves to that ultimate bar of integrity, and sometimes other business owners don't. And even that is an unfair comparison, because I also know some Christian business owners I've seen, just saying, that don't hold themselves to that high bar of integrity. And I've also seen secular businesses that do hold themselves to that high bar of integrity. All I'm saying is that if a business is operating from a position of integrity, obviously their expenses are going to be greater. So I just want us to think about this. I want us to think about this. This is a topic that, like, seriously, if we wanted to take a course, if you want to take a course in business and economics, and in truly understanding the way this should work in a church amongst Christian brothers and sisters, these are some thoughts I think that should be brought to the table in fairness and considered on both sides. So if you're a business owner out there today, or a service provider, or you work for a company, raise the bar on yourself. That's going to be my challenge to you, is raise the bar on yourself. And if you're a consumer out there doing business in the marketplace, I'm not saying overpay. I'm not, I know it's risky on both sides. I promise you, it's risky for the business owner and it's risky for the consumer. But when we can identify opportunities to fairly promote relationships where integrity is upheld on both sides, I say do as much as we can to uphold that high level of integrity. Thank you for staying with me to this point in Man of Minutes today. I know it was a tough one. I want you to remember that the Lord is working all things together for His good and for our benefit. And if you learned something new today, feel free to share that in the comments, or something you agree with, or even something you disagree with. That's fine. Feel free to share that in the comments. Be good, have fun, do it in that order. And if I haven't made too many enemies today in sharing my opinion on this topic, then join me tomorrow for another episode of Man of Minutes. Until then, Lord bless. Thank you.